Welcome to the video, guys. As you might remember, we had the petition for the grooming gang research to be released in full hit over 100k, with it currently sitting at 119,071 signatures. But obviously, given the human malware situation we are going through now, this has been put on the back burner by the government. And my concern now is that it will be completely ignored and we might have to wait until the next parliament, i.e. after an election, because I'm sure you can only put in one petition about something for each parliamentary term. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I see that somewhere. Either way, it's going to show another failure in this country's system when it comes to protecting our children from these grooming gangs, which it seems is not limited to them just taking their time to respond to the petition or indeed covering up the report. There are reports out of the Independent today on a couple of issues that it seems the government is dropping the ball on in relation to the grooming gang victims. Never mind the perpetrators here, which is what we're usually after. It seems the British government, police forces, local councils and whoever else is involved in this are still consistently failing these women. How authorities failed to protect a grooming gang victim who spoke out against her abusers. Exclusive. Lucy has been followed, harassed and had her home vandalised since giving evidence that helped convict 20 men. I spoke up to stop the next generation of girls getting abused, but it's the worst thing in my life that I've done, Lucy tells the Independent. After being preyed on from the age of 11 by a grooming gang in Huddersfield, Lucy had the courage to come forward and give evidence against her abusers in a series of court cases that saw 20 men jailed. But despite promises of police protection, the mother says she has been harassed throughout the trials. "I've had my windows smashed numerous times," Lucy said. "I've had the defendant's friends approach me in the corner shop saying, 'We remember you from Huddersfield.' Then they asked for my number." Which is amazing if you ask me, because I'll tell you something, if and when these perpetrators get out of prison, I guarantee the police will be swift to protect them if anyone was to try and take vigilante justice against them or harass them in the same way that their friends are doing to these girls. Because of course the police would have to do it, and swiftly, otherwise they would be considered racist. Much the same reason why they allowed this to go on and just swept it under the carpet. Lucy said she had been followed, including while visiting her mother's grave, and bombarded with phone calls from withheld numbers. "It's guys ringing me asking can I come over, or they say they're watching me," she said. "I reported it to the police, but they didn't tell the judge anything." Which seems to be a common theme with the police and the grooming gangs. Lucy said that when she agreed to formally report her abuse in 2015, West Yorkshire Police promised to install protective measures at her home. But when a contractor assessed the house and found it needed substantial work, including a safe room, the landlord refused to carry it out. "I've moved since, so I asked the police again, and they've said there's no funding." Lucy said there's no protection. Yeah, the reason why there might not be no funding is because they're too busy trying to police Twitter and offending someone's poor fifis on the internet. In this day and age, that seems to be a #1 priority of the police. Probably because of the demented hate speech laws make it extremely easy to get yourself a conviction. Lucy claims that several men linked to the grooming gang who abused several girls over more than a decade remain at large. Oh yeah, I expect the majority of them do. The most serious abusers have been convicted, she said, but others were questioned on suspicion of less severe crimes and released without further action. One of the men she recognised works at Leeds Crown Court and had contact with her on some of the days she was giving evidence at the trials, which is absolutely incredible if you ask me. Lucy fears that because some members of the network think they've got away with it, the abuse will continue and be passed from generation to generation. Well, this is an ideological thing, so the abuse will be passed from generation to generation anyway. There's only one way to stop this, and the police or the government really haven't got the bollocks for it, and likely won't have for another 10 or 15 years, if they ever do. When she asked a police officer why not all of her abusers had been prosecuted, she says they replied, "We can't get all of them," which I expect is actually the one thing they've told her that is true. It's very hard to get a group of people for something and then get them charges to stick without them being lessened down to smaller crimes and essentially getting a slap on the wrist for something that they should be doing a 10 or 15 year stretch for. While the police in most of these cases have shown themselves to be incompetent morons, they are of course limited by what the law allows them to do, and its inherent weaknesses. The Independent has viewed CCTV footage of 2 incidents late last year where groups of Asian men visited the home where Lucy lives with her young child. Let's get that right, we can't just be calling these Asian men. You either call them mostly Pakistani men or you call them Muslim men if you want to generalise across their religion. You do not call them Asian men because it could well have been a group of Chinese men, a group of Taiwanese men, or any other group of people from Asia. That is far too broad and a completely ridiculous thing to say. Because I'll tell you what, to me they all look distinctly Pakistani or Muslim, with the exception of course of the top left corner. In October, the day after guilty verdicts were delivered for her abusers, a man rang the doorbell claiming to be looking for someone. A week later, a different car pulled up outside the house with 4 men inside who waited there for over an hour while looking towards the door. Lucy called the police on both occasions, but they did not speak to her at home, and footage shows a patrol car driving past without stopping in the second incident. So by the sounds of that, they drove past a car with 4 men sitting in it staring at her house and didn't bother to stop. I wonder why. She was given a panic alarm and a tracking phone by police to ensure an urgent response, but said these don't make a difference, and I would have to agree. Lucy's account of her experience came amid mounting calls for the government to enshrine victims' rights in law. But now it seems the victims of these disgusting fuckpigs are being refused compensation because they had a driving conviction, which to me is just amazing and seems pretty pathetic. Why wouldn't you give someone victim compensation because they have a driving conviction is just beyond me. Now we don't need to read all that because obviously it's about Lucy, who the first article was in relation to. Following the trials, she applied to the Criminal Injuries Compensation Authority because she was entitled to recompense for sexual abuse and its lifelong impact. But CICA rejected the application because of a dangerous driving conviction for which Lucy had been handed a community sentence. But I'm telling you something now, if a group of guys got hold of one of these grooming gang perpetrators when he was released from prison and give him a good kicking, I'm sure that dirty scumbag would get a nice wad of compensation from the government because they would think saying no would be racist. We all know the way the government works here. I wasn't in it for the money, I was in it purely to tell my story and get justice, Lucy told the Independent. I was advised to apply for compensation, but Circa declined because of my conviction. The authority said it could not award her compensation while the conviction was unspent, still on her criminal record. That is really quite amazing, and I must say, a stupid law. While you obviously shouldn't break the law, having done that shouldn't make any difference when you are the victim of a crime if this is what the scheme is for. It just seems rather nonsensical and a cop-out if you ask me. A Circa official said the scheme's terms meant that there was no leeway or discretion for me to take into account the individual circumstances. Like I said, it's just a cop-out for Circa. Lucy requested a review, but in October, Circa again refused to grant compensation because the application was considered a duplicate. She said the incident that sparked the refusal was not a major offence compared to the years of abuse she suffered, and I would have to agree, as I think would everyone else on the planet. Lucy, now in her 20s, has pleaded guilty to dangerous driving following a police chase where she drove through red lights and crashed. While, I've got to say, she was being a bit of an idiot there, still doesn't change the fact that she was a victim of a crime, and especially one as heinous as this. No one was injured in the incident, which happened while she was given evidence at her rapist court trial and has been refused counselling in case it affected her account. Lucy said she had gone into panic mode because she believed a group of Asian men were driving towards her. Dame Vera Bade, the victims commissioner for England and Wales, said she had real concerns about rules denying compensation to victims with unspent convictions, and I would have to agree with the Dame on that one. It does seem to be rather stupid. Maybe if they're a murderer or a child murderer or something like that, I could actually understand it. But for someone with a driving conviction or something stupid like that, I've got to say it does seem a bit silly. It cannot be right automatically to deny these victims compensation, and there is a danger we are doing them a grave injustice, Dame Vera said. Well, I would suggest the powers that be have already done these girls a serious injustice as it is. This, of course, is just compounding it. It is accepted that there can often be a direct link between these crimes and future criminal behaviour of the victims, which I'm no psychologist, but I expect there could. Diane Fawcett, Chief Executive of Victim Support, said grooming gang victims were disproportionately affected by the unfair rule and called for it to be changed. Well, it should be changed. Regardless of disproportionately affected, it shouldn't be a rule in the first place. This case sadly highlights that circle rules are outdated and in need of reform, she added. They're not outdated now, they were just nonsensical in the beginning. Compensation can play a vital role in making life easier for victims and survivors. Making deductions for minor, unrelated convictions is unjust and can lead to distress and re-traumatisation. And I would have to agree, I think these people should get compensation. I don't necessarily think the government should pay it though. I think it should be taken from the perpetrators. Chances are they hold some property or maybe even a business or two. Confiscate that, sell it, and give the proceeds to the victims. We already have laws for proceeds of crime, so it should be fairly easy to enact. Any actions like these against a child should take the full force of the law, regardless of anything, race, religion, I don't care. Personally, I think they should all get life in prison, but that's just me. But with police forces apparently not doing their jobs in protecting these girls, and the government organisation set up to provide compensation to victims refusing to pay them because of nonsensical minor driving charges has to be stopped. And like I said at the beginning, the grooming gang petition, I fear now, will be pushed onto the back burner by the government because of the current human malware situation. Now before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, the link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot, and I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.